Imagine a vibrant discussion between people that includes both openness and critical thought in the pursuit of truth. The Purchasing Truth podcast is an experience, a journey, an exploration of the impact that negative messages in politics and the media have on our families, community, society, and nation. Join your hosts, Bill Stierle and Tom Hazard, to discover new concepts and language strategies that will reveal effective ways of establishing truth. This podcast series will tackle current events, leadership challenges, healthcare confusion, integrity in business, and many other areas that affect us all. Gain clarity and understanding of the various truth perspectives. Welcome to Purchasing Truth.
Welcome back to Purchasing Truth. I'm Tom Hazard, along with Bill Stierle. And, Bill, I think it's about time we had a discussion about conspiracy theories, as, there are always some floating about, and they've been with us for as long as, my entire life, more than. Some of the most obvious ones go back to the Kennedy assassination or the moon landing, if it happened or not, things like that. But there seems to be an awful lot of conspiracy theories being propagated lately, and there's been some discussion in the media about it. And so I thought it makes sense to go over that today. And maybe we need to start with defining conspiracy theories, just so that we have a common place to start here.
That's a great idea. Conspiracy theories provide an interesting benefit for human beings, and people are going to be weirded out that I would say benefit, but it's really a interesting place for us to talk about how to purchase truth around it, as well as really kind of the center of the show is how to use language, or how language is used in the belief structure in the brain in order to do some things for us, throughout our lifetime. So you're right. The definition is totally where to start. Oh boy. A secret plan by a group to do something unlawful or harmful.
Ouch.
It's an interesting place to start a definition, right?
It's
like
sort of sobering, isn't it?
Yeah. One of the things that set of words does is it activates a really important need for us, protection, and it's protection from unknown. Tom, there's 3 steps to purchase somebody's belief, and one of them is to create uncertainty. And that definition does that.
It certainly
because the
does.
the dopamine level is going to move up. I'm going to be enthusiastic about uncovering things. We're naturally curious. If you're telling me something's unknown behind door number 1, door number 2, or door number 3, which one are you picking? The curiosity draws you in. And if the thing that happens is life-changing or very large, the conspiracy becomes more likely. So Oswald shooting Kennedy because Kennedy died is different than the shooter shooting Reagan because Reagan didn't die.
That does make a big difference, doesn't it?
The end result is the thing that creates the uncertainty. Well, Reagan didn't die, so it's proportional.
Yeah, it was
but
only
if
an
he
attempt.
did die. So the conspiracy to destroy the government is a big thing.
Yeah.
So if I keep a narrative about the evil liberals destroying the government by turning it into communism, Meanwhile, the alternative motive is to create an oligarchy where there's a bunch of rich people running everything. I mean, basically, 2,000 families own a great portion of the wealth of America. 2,000 families? That's it?
Well,
We can't vote to raise taxes on those folks?
yeah, that's why they're called the 1%, or even the fraction of
0.1.
1%.
Right, that's right.
Right. By the way, it was John Hinckley Jr., just for the record, who shot
Well
Reagan.
done. Thank you very much. So the act of conspiring means that I then get to gather people, my tribe of like-minded people, to believe that thing. Now, the way the language in the brain works a little bit is somebody that kind of spends time picking better words for people to say to reduce conflict and mediation, rather than picking words that are going to escalate the conflict. I want to pick words that are going to de-escalate the conflict. But if I'm wanted to keep people hooked into a group of people to be agreeing to stuff, whether it's a organization that has problems, whether it's a government agency, a church, a family that has a belief about the way someone is, I want to gently be able to let truth come forward so that everybody can start talking about the truth and then get peace along the way. Conspiring means that I'm keeping the mystery alive. I want to keep the mystery alive because that keeps me and my people close. And now all of a sudden, the physiology of the body starts to calm down because I have certainty that there was a conspiracy to shoot Kennedy, because I've introduced the most valuable phrases in both sales and politics. What if? Some people are saying, I'm not sure if it's fully true, but that's what I'm hearing. That's how you pull people into doubt and skepticism about what might not happen. So, using conspiring language in the upper part of government allows leaders, specifically in certain countries, to hold the majority of people in their general set of agreements about the way the world is and how the world will work best. And then you just start separating and picking off the outliers. It's an unsettling thing to say.
Really
separating
is. So it's, I mean, it sounds like conspiracy theories are a way to indoctrinate people and to purchase truth away from them.
Yeah, they're not in touch with the truth, because what they're doing is they're narrowing on a portion of the truth or a fact. And they will argue with you with the sentence, well, what about? Well, Trump did this. Well, what about Obama? Like those things are even. They're not even, but it doesn't matter in the conspiracy mind, because there is a portion of fact that allows the brain to make those things equal. So it's proportional, but if you keep this conspiracy alive, it's not proportional. So the traction with Reagan just getting shot, there can't be any conspiracy, because they caught the guy, they prosecuted, they saw that thing, they looked at all the evidence, and because he didn't die, there's no mystery. But if he did die, we'll never know. What do you mean we'll never know? It's the same set of facts. It's the same research, but the brain wants to equate the bigness of change and wants to try to find some certainty. Now, you and I can have the discussion about whether me and 20 of our friends sits on the, or 10 of our friends sit in your backyard and an alien ship lands, and a relatively safe looking alien comes out with no metal weapons around, with a universal translator that they happen to have. We've come X number of light years here. We're welcoming you. We think your species is ready, and we wanted to introduce to you fine people. I was wondering if you could share some of your barbecue with us. Now, as I'm creating this story, the proportionality of the experience of a real alien standing in front of us is going to cause the feeling of shock, worried, anxious, nervous, scared. There's some people that might run from the backyard as they're seeing it come down. They're thinking, I'm not going to wait to face the alien because clearly the alien is a dangerous person. So the framework of the alien is viewed from a place of safety, not from a place of inclusion.
Well, and isn't that human nature that, as human beings, we have our sort of, our bubble of what we view as safe and our bubble of beliefs. You and I talk about, certain bubbles, and the reality is there is safety and certainty in your close-knit community, and there are different bubbles. I mean, you probably have the bubble that is your neighborhood, you have the bubble that is your school system, you might have a bubble that is your church, you have a bubble that is then your town, and then maybe you have, we have a bubble that is America to a degree, and then of course their biggest bubble is probably the whole earth when you're talking about aliens. So different levels of certainty that get threatened, don't they?
They really, really do. And that's why a conspiracy starts careening towards evil, unlawful, treacherous, surreptitious plan formulated in secret by two or more people. It's a plot. It's a plot. Roswell is a plot. Why? Because it's unknown and unseen. They're not going to say Roswell is where they first tested the stealth airline, the stealth plane before it was unrolled to the world, and they kept it there for 10 years as they were testing the single wing design. They're saying, they look up in the sky and say, hey, there's a single wing design that can't be ours, it must be from aliens. It's like, what the heck? Oh no, us coming up, us testing new things? No, of course not. See, when someone's out of the loop, they feel helpless, but when they're in the loop, they feel scared. If they're not, because they're only being told only so. When they're in the loop, let me say that a little different way. When they're in the loop, they feel some confidence, but there's still the mystery of what I don't know. And it's easy to scare somebody in a certain bubble by making it helpless about the people that are outside the bubble. That's why, yeah, we want immigrants to work in our meat factories and not paying them anything, but we really don't want them here illegally. But since they are here illegally, we're not going to give them any rights, even though they're paying more taxes than many of the citizens. They're paying stuff going into the system and not taking anything out of the system. It's really unsettling that these beliefs about people that are outside the American bubble really aren't able to breathe through the change or the awareness about what's best, what's proportional, what's most effective, and what's most fair for illegal aliens, as well as the people that are here. Does that make some sense?
It does, and it doesn't take aliens to make a conspiracy theory. There's plenty of them right here, in America, and in fact, there's even our current president. He hints at conspiracy theories all the time. Let's talk about why people make up conspiracy theories. What's the point? Is it to purchase truth? Is it to move people's beliefs, or is it just to play on their beliefs? Why would you launch a conspiracy theory?
To build a community, to have other like-minded people get on and support me from my place of either helplessness or scared. I need support. I'm feeling helpless about the world, about my job for 30 years. The conspiracy is that, well, the aliens are taking my job. The illegal aliens or the immigrants are taking my job. It's
Well,
not true,
so
but
that was the conspiracy theory that Trump propagated as he ran for, even before he ran for president, about Obama not being a natural born American, right?
right. I am going to. You're helpless about somebody in giving you health care. You're helpless about somebody giving you health care that your party is telling you that this health care is going to take away or ruin something you have. And even now, when something goes into law, it doesn't stick into law now. It used to stick. It used to stick for 5 years, 10 years, 15, 25, 35, 45, 55 years. Something would stick. And what happens is the people that don't like that law try to chisel away at it, try to weaken it, try to put a provision that guts the law. Yeah, the law's on the books, but this provision just took all the teeth out of it. Like the voting rights thing. Well, you just took the teeth out of the thing. The thing can't bite anything. It doesn't have any edge anymore. We don't need that anymore. Well, that's not true. Because no matter how we think that we have progressed, there are populations of people that have not progressed. No matter how much optimism you and I think about an all-inclusive, cooperative nation, there are groups of people that do not want all-inclusive, cooperative nation. They would like their bubble to be protected. And because the way the laws are written, their bubbles get to be protected. Just ask the Amish. Their bubble gets to be protected because they can live and be in that belief structure, fit in that side of community, stay inside that world. There are places in the world that don't know about 5G, even though you and I might have different opinions about 5G or have the same opinion about 5G or have the same unknowingness about 5G. Notice if it's big, a conspiracy comes with it because I'm helpless and I feel scared.
Well, there was a conspiracy a couple months ago going around about something about how 5G caused coronavirus
to accelerate
or made it worse or something.
Yeah, and they looked at the towers. They took the corona. This is where purchasing truth. You're going to totally crack up on this. Here's the coronaviruses. Here's the 5G rollout. Look, they match. Look at the red dots are similar. But what was missing was the third map, which is here's population density. Well, 5G is matching population density, and it just happens to be coronavirus is more prolific where there's more dense people.
Right. And so they both were happening because of population density. They were happening in the same areas, but one was intentional to support that population density, and one is a virus that's like burning a forest full of dry wood. If there's more wood, it's going to burn more, right?
I'm not trying to say 5G is I'm interested in any kind of science that shows up in front that says 5G with its thing has certain detrimental pieces to it, and how this new thing is going to affect, because we are soft animals and we have learned a lot about all kinds of things that are environmentally toxic to our body, that initially they're going like, well, this is pretty toxic, but I don't know, I think we can use it because it doesn't seem like it has any effect on things. Well, we're learning about, you know, microfibers and PFSS, different chemicals and different things that sink into the water table and things that don't get dissolved over time. And we're learning that we need to collaborate and cooperate with nature, or things will not go well for us. It's called plastics on the shores of a remote island that float there and stay there for hundreds of thousands of years.
Or
It's
the
like
Pacific garbage patch that's out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. It's like the size of Texas. It's so sad.
It's huge. It's like, because no one sees it, just because that's why it's not there. It's like, what I'm trusting that this plastic water bottle is going to be recycled. Is that true? Well, not if 50 other people are throwing in a place that gets into the ocean. It's not getting recycled anywhere. It says, my bottle gets recycled. So the conspiracy, the combination, there's the evilness of it, that you can take and hijack somebody's bias and immediately yank 20 or 30% of the population to say, hey, Mexico's the problem. They give us our rapists and their murderers, and they're not sending us their best people. And that constructed narrative easily hijacks 25% of the vote. That's scary. So, I mean, it really is, because, yeah.
What's scary to me is there's no, well, a lot of times there's not an interest in a lot of in this population of people buying into it. There's not an interest to seek truth, to find out for themselves if it is truth, to do the research and the work. It's much easier to get on board with a conspiracy theory that happens to fit your bubble of beliefs, or at least is giving you some kind of safety or certainty feeling.
Yeah, I think that's really unsettling, is that the safety uncertainty. It's like, and we did an episode on time. The problem with truth and time is that if you're hunkered down and you're not making enough money with one job, and therefore you have a second job, and then you have a third job just to make enough money, you have no time to find truth. I mean, there's no time to find truth in a factory in China. There's no time for that person to find truth there, because they're working 10 or 12 or 14 hours, 16 if it's really bad. And there's no time. Their life, then suicide by jumping out of one of the buildings looks like a hell of a good idea, because I don't have a life here. I'm just I'd rather not have this experience because it's too painful for me. So that's problematic. And we have our own version of it, and our truth can get hijacked. And the word hijacked is really a little too strong. I like to think of it as that you really don't have to hijack a person. All you got to do is put a breadcrumb in a direction of where you would like them to go, and they just follow it. So it's small messages to get them over there. So we've got to watch, because a big part of what happens with psychology during this election time is small messages, small messages, small messages, evil, evil, evil. And if you look at the President Trump's recent speech, he literally threw the kitchen sink at unbelievable things. They want to get rid of suburbs. Suburbs are going to be gone. Schools, they're going to get rid of all police. Listen to this globalizing language. It's conspiratorial. It's saying this really, really big bad thing is going to take place. And that's how we got elected the first time. There's this big bad thing at the border. Immigration, we haven't really dealt with it. We need to keep these bad people out. And he just literally just breadcrumbed them all the way to the voting booth. It didn't matter how much truth that the border crossings have been declining for the last X years. The initial, shock of NAFTA that drove everybody north, anyways.
Well, so let's talk about something that's really more right in all of Americans' faces right now, which is COVID-19.
Yes.
And we had, we were able to see, and I mean, I think if you pay attention to any headlines in this country, the president was interviewed by Chris Wallace on Fox News. I think it was on Sunday this past week. And, Chris, more than any other correspondent at Fox News, I think, is a real journalist. I mean, maybe all of us have our biases, but he's a pretty level-headed
He tries to stay on it. Yeah, he stays on it, and he's going like, I'm looking at these numbers here, and from a conservative point of mind, here's the number I'm looking at, and he goes, and then Trump does what he does best. Wait a minute, somebody else has the real numbers here, Chris. You don't have the real numbers. I have the real numbers over here. They're back behind door number 3.
Right. And he says, hey, bring me the numbers on the death rate. That was a question on the death rate. Chris was saying, hey, the US is in bad shape with the death rate, and was it number 7 or number 3? I forget what it is in the world with the highest death rate. And Trump's like, oh no, we have the lowest death rate. Your numbers are wrong on that. And so he injects this doubt and skepticism and creates the idea that there's a conspiracy going on in America to inflate the death rate to hurt him at the ballot box in November. I mean, this is the types of things that he does to try to get more people to support him. And he just sits there on national TV spewing this. I'm trying not to label it here. It's hard though.
It is hard. So promoting, do it from, say, he's promoting a point of view that meets his need for loyalty, inclusion, and truth. His version of truth. See, if we were honest, really, really honest, we take a look at what our nation is, the USA, with our population, and take how many millions of people we have here. I don't know, roughly
300 million, 20 million, something like that.
20 million. Yeah. All right. We take that group of people, okay? And then we would look at the most important number possible, which is how many deaths per million. And to this date, it's 435 people per million.
In the United States are dying. And
435 people per million.
Now, just to illuminate truth, how does that compare to other countries? Where are we on that list?
Thank you very much. The highest one is Spain, 608 million. The UK, 667. We will rapidly get there. We will be even with them by November.
Well,
easily.
I actually personally and regrettably think that you're probably right there, Bill. I really do. And
well, I feel sad to be right as somebody that knows 5 people that have died from COVID. This is not a good thing. I don't like this whole experience at all.
It's not a good thing. Well, and interesting, that you brought that up, or that we brought that up about the death rates, because I don't want to be an alarmist, but it was interesting. I did see an interview on Sunday with Dr. Michael Osterholm, who's the director of the Center for Infectious Disease Research and Policy at the University of Minnesota. And he is certainly not a left-wing liberal trying to push some left-wing agenda by any means, but he was asked a question: if we're going to see infections in the United States at the rate of 100,000 per day soon, he was asked that question. Is it inevitable we're going to get there? Because we've been in the United States at hovering around 70,000 new cases per day identified. Yeah. And I'm paraphrasing, what that was, but he said, so far we've infected about 7 to 8% of the US population to date. And he said, this virus won't slow down until we've reached infecting about 50% of the US population. That's what it's going to take for it to slow down on its own. Okay. And at the pace of infecting about 70,000 people per day, which is the current rate, he says it'll take fully 365 days to reach infecting 50% of the population. He said, and this is the quote that really got my attention, that was sobering: we have a lot of human wood to burn in this coronavirus forest fire, and it's likely that we will see infections of over 100,000 per day. If we do not change our ways quickly, we are going to see those kinds of numbers daily, and the kinds of numbers of infecting 50% of the population. He's trying to say, hey, we got to change our ways. And really, he was talking about wearing a mask, which we've talked about on another episode. If everybody would wear masks, we wouldn't see those numbers. But we haven't changed our ways enough yet. Maybe that will happen. So, I mean, this isn't a conspiracy theory, but it is some scary honesty around this.
So I'll put a post up, and you and I have talked about masks. I think even in the last episode we talked about masks too, and the good reason why a conspiracy will come about that thing called masks. What's the conspiracy behind it? And it has to do with the same thing with the JFK thing, which is because this is something is big. Therefore, since it's big, there must be some kind of alternative motive that the people want us to do this thing because it's big. There must be this mysterious thing. And the bias then gets hijacked very easily. And the person goes like, yeah, you're being sheep, you're being controlled, you're being this. It's like, how about if we're just being considerate? How about if we're just caring for others? How about if we're just doing our small part? How about that? Let's not make anything big. Now let's escalate this to the concept called contact tracing. Well, we don't want to find out who you've connected with because, conspiracy, if we start contact tracing, everybody's going to keep track of everybody and you'll know who you're talking about. And we don't want that level of surveillance. Why? Because the government is going to see it's the...
Yeah, you get to the privacy concern and the big brother, fear of government, right?
Right. We'll investigate your people, but you can't investigate. You're not going to use this thing to investigate. But when it comes to riots, we'll surveil and arrest all we can over there because our belief structure is over here. And it's, again, the hardest part about a conspiracy is that it's a group of people that believe that they're doing the right thing by fighting against something that is outside, that's illusionary, that's not a part of their belief structure. And they think, okay, it's okay because the law allows me to do it, but it's not okay because the law doesn't allow me to do it. So we're not going to do contact tracing. That's a stupid thing because the numbers on privacy and independence and individuality are much higher than the numbers on collaboration, cooperation, and care for others. I don't want to care for others when I'm going to lose my privacy. It's like, huh? It's like, you got to be able to think like a little more like an adult there. Like, you got to be able to think both. How can I meet the need for privacy and how can I care for others at the same time? How can I get protection for this? And how can I do my part to do this? The California numbers, the Texas numbers, and the Florida numbers take us into February in escalation. Other states, New York, New Jersey, they flattened the curve.
Yeah, pretty much all in New England, Connecticut, Massachusetts, all those states. Yeah.
They're all under wrap. They're all going like, well, yeah, we're starting to open, and they're being secret about them opening up the restaurants because the rest of the nation, we want what you have.
Yeah, they don't want everyone to flock there and then cause a whole second wave in those states.
For the states. It's like they ain't telling. There is no messaging coming out from New York for people to come there and visit. No, do not come here. We have enough contained economy. We're going to be just fine here. Thank you very much. We're trying, and we don't need the tourism. We'll take it after the thing's over, but we're not taking it now.
Right. Well,
very, very unsettling.
So returning to conspiracy theories for a moment, there was a really good piece done by John Oliver on Last Week Tonight regarding conspiracy theories, and I'm going to put this a link to it in the blog post at purchasingtruth.com. But it's interesting, Bill, because you posted that a clip of that on YouTube, on social media, and about conspiracy theories. And it's very interesting. One of the comments you got from someone saying, who either didn't watch the video and understand what the story was about, but immediately tried to purchase truth away from you and away from that video. That was curious. Do you want to mention that?
Yeah, I think that's the hard part about it is that like the title, the title of John Oliver's show was Coronavirus, Conspiracy Theories, Last Week Tonight with John Oliver. Here's what the person posted. I agree, CV-19 is a conspiracy. They literally read the title and saw it through the view of.
Right.
instead of watching the show. Now, they could have just been just promoting their bias, and what a bias does is a bias doesn't look for truth. It looks for evidence to support the bias. Like a lot of people were looking to put Trump in a religious validation piece when Trump got elected, and in the Bible there was this character, this king that they equated Trump to this same type of king from the Bible, and that made him on the good side. And I got to remember, it's just like, and it was this weird reference from the Bible of this, who Trump is referred to as. So they're looking for something that we believe in that's close to or next to the thing that we're living with and we're accepting. And what happens is the truth gets purchased because it's a breadcrumb in the direction towards certainty. How do we as human beings stare that down and go like, well, how much of a truth is this versus it must be true? And that's very, very unsettling.
Well, and to me,
we've got to do a better job.
What was so revealing about that comment is that because of what the person commented, it was very clear they didn't watch the piece. They didn't do their own research. They didn't inform themselves, because had he watched it and still disagreed with it, he would have made different points. He would have referenced specific things within this, this presentation that John Oliver made, was this report that he made about, conspiracy theories. And he didn't do that. He immediately said, yeah, you're right, COVID-19 is a conspiracy. And by the way, here's this other information, because he posted like a photo of something he was saying about Dr. Fauci, and that supported his belief that COVID-19 is a conspiracy and that it's not real. And it's just like, oh my goodness, that is an unfortunate example of someone that is not really interested in pursuing or revealing truth. They're just interested in perpetuating their own beliefs and supporting their own beliefs,
and then maintaining the followership. So as I looked up the story of King Cyrus, because
is
now
that
all
what
of a
it
sudden
is?
that's it. So who started? Well, I don't know, started, but Netanyahu of Israel said, well, he's just like King Cyrus. It's like it just went like a wildfire, because all of a sudden it's a conservative view in two folks that are maintaining their populations, their bubbles, the best way they can maintain their bubbles, not looking at the greater reality or truth of the world is a big place with a lot of different beliefs and values, and all these different human beings are living lives the way they are. Can we just please get back to a place of collaboration, cooperation with each other, and figure out what fairness looks like to the best of our ability? Can't we just do that? How about that? Let's just set the course, and start finding truth to get us there, instead of just trying to propagating what the outside views are. And you can't, it's really, really, it's hard to lead from a tweet, but he's doing it, because the way beliefs work is tiny breadcrumb messages that maintain the connection with the person that you believe and are loyal to. And now I'm very unsettled just by saying that, because that's a part of the circumstances that we're living in. And the thing I want the listeners to really get a hold of is that the language breadcrumbs that are being put in front of the person to lead them there, it's just tapping into a deeper fear, a deeper culturated fallacy that has come up, and it's just disheartening, because they don't fully know that it's taking place, because it's just the next piece of breadcrumb that's in front of them, that's validating, where they think they are, where what's valuable to them is maintaining the belief, and they're looking for committing to combining, and bringing things to make sense. Their brain is desperately trying to fill in things that support that level of agreement. And we're in a very saturated time with language. So I think on the John Oliver show, he even took it. All I got to do is Google this thing, and look what comes up. It's like, well, if you keep staring at that, that'll start to look real to you. Even Hassan Minhaj did it. He goes, I said this one time, and then all of a sudden I Googled that thing and my name came up because I talked about that topic, not what the reality of the topic was. It's like, wait, how did I get associated with this? So talking about difficult things, takes a little bit of observational skills versus hopping on judgment or hopping on criticism or defensiveness or contempt. And be careful not to validate what you're reading and trying to take it in from your, and I know this is hard, but we measure things from what we've known in the past. We don't measure things from what's in front of us. And our brain, regrettably, is designed that way for safety reasons.
Yeah. So I think it's inherent that we will tend to appreciate and absorb information that's in alignment with our past experiences, and that becomes our confirmation bias, among other things. But
right,
the conspiracy theories, I think we all have to be aware of them, really, because they purchase our own truth and keep us in our own bubble.
Okay, so let's end this show on a positive note.
All right.
Let's make it positive and see if we can stick the landing, because that's a big challenge when you dive deep into a subject. It's hard to come back up and stick the language and stick the landing, so that we can get language that's going to help us. All right. If you were a conspiracy person and I am listening to that, what do I say or do to have a conversation with you? And what are some things that I choose not to do? Okay. First thing that I choose not to do is I choose to set facts that I have over here on the side burner, not the back burner, the side burner, and turn it on low. Do not turn the facts on high. You got to turn the facts on low.
Okay.
Second step, listen to the conspiracy theorists' sentences. And as soon as it gets to 7 to 13 words, repeat it back to them instantly. Don't let the conversation go into the monologue. Get the person being heard early.
Yeah.
So you would like me to hear that JFK got, there was a conspiracy with JFK. Oh, yes. Now it looks like an invitation for them to go into monologue. Oh, so one piece of evidence that you have to validate what you're saying about JFK is this. Is that the piece of evidence you like to hear? Oh, yes. Then they'll bring a second piece of evidence. Oh, so a second thought that you have about that is this. Is that thought correct? Yes. Yes, it is. Many people might have the third fact, but will start running out of steam after the second.
Okay.
But they'll keep fighting. And that's why it is the good reason why the mob shot JFK.
Right.
The so-and-so did it. The deep state did this. So you'd like me to hear that the deep state was back in alignment back then, because we do have people that advocate to protect America's interests and may break a law or two. Is that what you're saying? Oh, yeah. Okay. So notice they're tying conspiracy to lawbreakers, to CIA, to NSA, to the different, systems that we have that are outside, that are interested in trying to make sure that America's interests are take place, and it may not follow all the rules that Americans need to follow. It may not. I can appreciate that partial truth.
Sure.
Because there's certain ethics and beliefs that you need to follow in order to say, hey, we need to act on protection here. We cannot act on this other need. So it's really a problem.
So,
all right.
So now after you've reflected what they've said a few times and made them feel heard, what's the next move?
Now all of a sudden, what you've done is you've changed them from an adversarial. I'm holding my hands up for those who are listening to the audio. I'm holding my left hand and right hand up and pretending I have two guns shooting at each other, because that's the way the initial conversation starts. But this thing is, I'm not going to shoot anything with my side of the gun. I'm turning my hand forward and they're shooting, but I'm saying, oh yeah, you're shooting over there. I'm seeing where you're shooting. You're not shooting at me. You're shooting at the issue. I'm trying to make it about the issue, not about us personally.
Right.
See how that's way different?
Yeah.
So I can listen and I can tolerate somebody going like, it's like, gosh, boy, you really don't want to wear a mask because you see it's affecting your freedom and your independence. You have some doubts on whether or not it's effective, and you don't believe that it's effective. Is that correct? Yes, I don't believe that. Okay. I can see how you don't believe that. And you might have had some information or research that might have informed you that it wasn't effective. Oh yeah, I saw this one thing with this doctor that said da 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 da. And there was this one video with these two doctors that were talking, and it's been debunked, but the damage was done about their belief about what was happening, but they were operating in a vacuum, among other things. Really, really hard, because that stuff will, all you got to do. I mean, we've got two viruses going on. We got the virus of communication, and we got the virus of the coronavirus, and we got the virus of communication that's just as lethal, because it's causing doubt and skepticism, hesitancy, nervous, anxious, worried, scared, all the emotions we do not want while trying to collaborate and cooperate together. It's like
well, and it's assisting the virus to propagate, because people have doubt that it's real, or that it's going to impact them, or that it's in their community. So
yeah, it's not until it's not until a high-ranking person, a well-known person, a very, very famous person, somebody that many people would miss on both sides, that all of a sudden everybody goes, oh, we're unified, because all of us like that person. See how weird that is?
Yeah, yeah.
All of us like this person, all of us like Rock Hudson. All of us like, Magic Johnson.
Right.
See?
Right.
So all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, we like these people. We don't want to lose these people. Hey, we may want to put some research into AIDS because we don't want to lose more of these really nice, famous people we like. And they're feeling helpless and hopeless. And now we're feeling helpless and hopeless, and we don't feel that way. Now all of a sudden there's political will to do it.
Right.
Really unsettling.
All right. Well, so you de-escalated the person on the Kennedy conspiracy theory, by making it about the issue, not about them or attacking you. You've aligned your thinking with theirs. And then what do you do next?
You're ready for the next step. Thanks, Tom, because I appreciate you as the person doing this, because a lot of times we get caught in explanation. It's like, Bill, could you just give the third step already?
Sorry. I just want to make sure we stick the landing here.
No, I'm with you on this one. So now all of a sudden, because there is some kind of sense that I am not going to make them wrong for their conspiracy or their belief, I now can introduce two really, really important feelings: hesitancy and doubt. I feel hesitant about what you're saying because I heard this other alternative thing that you might not be believing. Are you seeing that this is not really fully true, or how are you seeing it? Now, notice I use the word fully true because they're already tilting the needle towards their bias or their belief or their truth. So you believe this thing to be this kind of truth, and you have that range of evidence in your experience. Oh yeah, I read this article about this mother that got vaccinated and her kid died, or her kid got really sick, or this is what happened. Therefore, it means that all. See how it. See, it already goes to the big thing, and now all of a sudden the conspiracy has a place to live, instead of this is a biological thing that took place inside this child that died because of whatever the genetic circumstances or the combination of or whatever happened or the reason why that kid died, that needs to be investigated fully. But at the same time, it's not necessarily as big as the person might think it is. But that's what happens with conspiracy, is that if there is a death, or if it's something big, or if there's billions of dollars being things, they're going to stay with the conspiracy. Okay, so now all of a sudden I got the third step, which is I'm introducing hesitancy and doubt, and I'm presiding something that is next to, not against, it's next to the thing that they're saying. And then you treat it like it's a race. Gosh, yeah, I'm curious about what the size of the experience is that you're having, and the size of the experience that I'm having with the truth that I'm having, and what's the proportionality. Then you could start adjusting perception and perspective. Through empathy, you'd like safety. You would like some trust. You need more certainty. The evidence is not there for you yet. You've read these kinds of things, but these other things that I've read, you haven't really looked at. Oh, you're just rejecting the things that I'm saying. Oh yeah, I can see that. You just want to stay with your belief right now. Oh no, I'm open-minded. No, you're not. But they're going to claim open-mindedness, but what they're doing is they're trying to claim certainty that they're right. And we've got to get out of our nation moving forward has to get out of a right-wrong narrative and get into the narrative is, here's where the law stands and here's where ethics stands. We need to have those two layers be reconstituted. We cannot keep collapsing just because something's not illegal that it's right. It's just not.
Well, and get to, as you said earlier, that place of collaboration and cooperation, because
Yeah.
if we don't do that, we're not digging out of this hole quickly. We'll end up digging out of it, like you said, in February, or maybe like Michael Osterholm said, sometime a year from now. And
Yeah.
that would
And he
be a
called it
painful year.
Yeah, it's a painful year. Yeah, I was starting to call this, I said, okay, we won't know. I mean, I think in March, I think the truth started to land on me a little bit. You know what? If there's not a flattening by, I think I called it on one of our episodes or something like that in the past, that if there's not a flattening by July,
Yeah.
we're gonna be into this until February, March of next year, and it looks
Here
like
we
our
are.
prediction is like a spot.
So
because
unfortunate.
because the biases and the truth are being yanked around, Tom. I don't want it this way. I you think I like adjusting all of the things that I need to, and I have it, and you and I have it better than most people. Most people are sucking air. They're grasping for financial income and food and support, and we got to start rallying around those kinds of things instead of we got to figure out how to safely support the people that are kind of sucking air over there, because that's not. And it's so funny. I just used the metaphor, like it's the worst metaphor ever. The coronavirus takes away your breath.
Yeah,
Sucking air is it's taking the air out of the economy and out of our collaborative nation. Dividing the states. We are not the divided states of America. We're just not that.
No.
That's not the way we're built.
Right.
But it sure looks like that, because if you go after states' rights all of a sudden and you just cut them off and you go like, oh, your state can do it the way it wants to. That's not the United States. That's not that. And really, that's what you're going to do? Great. Anyways, so there's hope in it, in that there's some hope in it that with a inclusive narrative using empathy and being able to listen more fully, we can get a better shot at some of these things, and then it'll tend to go better. But
that would be nice.
Not there at this moment.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Well, I think we have an issue with leadership that is not seeing it this way.
Yeah, and I kind of wish, Joe Biden would lead a little bit more from have more empathetic narratives in his dialogue, and from his from the way he's talking about things is he's using certain language that's very, very safe. And I would request that just some small infusion. It's like a vitamin, just infusion with just a little bit more empathetic language. Not sympathetic language, because he's good there. There's almost too much of it, but really empathetic language. And if his people would contact me, I would show them the difference, because they're not in alignment with engagement fully. It's kind of if you really want to lead, you need to master empathy in a brand new way. You just got to. And that's what's needed next to get us out of this.
Agreed. I agree wholeheartedly, Bill. All right. Well, hey, that seems like a good place to leave it for today. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed that.
Thanks. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you for listening to this Purchasing Truth podcast. We trust that you have enjoyed this engaging and thought-provoking conversation. Our hope is that you've received value, found clarity, and broadened your truth perspective in this episode. If you did, leave us a review or visit our website, purchasingtruth.com. Join us again for another informative and content-rich discussion here at the Purchasing Truth podcast. Don't just accept whatever information comes your way. Join the discussion. Discover your own voice. Purchase your own truth.